Siri Miller. I am the co-writer, co-director, and I also act in the film of Slice.
I'm Lauren Hoover, and I am the other co-writer and co-director of Slice.
We had the opportunity to sit down with some of the official selections of the Dances with Films Festival during their press junket. It was such a pleasure meeting these passionate filmmakers, and I hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as I did.
Slice is a proof of concept short for a larger pilot TV series.
Oh, great.
And it's about this strange desert diner where people are kind of inexplicably drawn. The larger TV series, the diner is sort of a Bermuda Triangle of sorts. Weird happenings, the Twilight Zone type of a situation.
All day.
Oh, I was no saint.
All day.
I did ungodly things.
Won't you spare me over to my ear?
The devil was whispering in my ears and speaking through my eyes.
Ziv, you're gonna drive yourself crazy if you keep checking the time.
Well, what if it's that I can't
sure it's
see you? Ice cold hands taking hold of me.
Hello.
I said yeah.
Okay. In and out here. Make it clean. No lingering.
I know.
How do you think it feels to not know if the world might end in 15 seconds? Couldn't be worse than a bullet in your head.
Well, I am death, none can excel. I'll open the door to heaven or hell.
You count with me. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All day. Won't you spare me over tonight?
There's multiple facets. So there's a larger overarching theme, which is kind of fate, and do we have a choice in our future, or are we beholden to fate? There's also, I think, on a more personal level, an individual level for the characters, I think it touches upon grief and the stages of grief and trauma, and are we beholden to our past, and what happens if we don't work through our past? We become kind of a victim to our past in a capacity.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So what kind of prompted this idea? What gave you guys?
So, a very long time ago in 2019, we were both sort of learning screenwriting together, and we would sit at a coffee shop, and then we both went out of town simultaneously, and we came back and we had written short films. And we showed each other the short films and realized, well, first of all, mine was called Strawberry Pie and hers was called Cherry Pie. And we hadn't talked about it or discussed it at all. And mine started at a weird desert diner and hers ended at a weird desert diner. And so we were sort of in shock and maybe a little weirded out. And then we realized, this lives in completely the same world, and it's an interesting concept for a larger TV series around this strange place that deals with parallel universes, and all these ideas kind of came to our head about a place that the fringes of society are drawn to. And we love those types of stories about the people that no one else really tells stories about. And so we were going to shoot both of those shorts. We raised money to shoot them. We were supposed to shoot in March 2020, and then the world ended, and then...
So we had to put that on hold for a very long time. During 2020 at Dances with Films here, Lauren had written and directed, and I had also acted alongside her in a short that was about COVID. And it's a very cute, almost French-inspired new wave type short. And so we premiered that here, and in that process, we met our producer for Slice, Eric Thompson, and Josh Russell, and they wanted to work with us. So we were like, okay. And when they saw that we had two scripts, they were like, why don't we just use the budget and combine the two and have it serve as almost like a slice of life? So you have all these different characters that come in and out of this diner. And so that was the inspiration, is we melded the two in a kind of symbiosis and hit the overarching themes as well as the smaller storylines.
So you both wrote like stories from the same world, pretty much.
Very similar, yeah.
Yeah, hers was about like a woman trying to avenge her mother's death, and mine was about two cult escapees in an end of the world cult. And so even the stories, while different, were obviously both very dark.
Yeah. And they both had themes of running from something and towards something else. And then they both lived in the same world, that kind of, American out west, in the middle of nowhere, eerie, kind of lost in time place. And we're like, this is the themes here. And we both have like religious themes in it. So the themes were, it was weird. It was definitely a zeitgeist of sorts. It felt like, I don't know what's happening, but we're on the same wavelength. Yes. Absolutely, yeah.
And where did the pie situation come from?
The diner. It was, and mine was, my main character was cherry pie. And it serves as kind of a metaphor for some of the stuff that she goes through. And then
yours.
Yeah, so mine was just an exploration of religion and the idea that maybe one religion is right, but if you become so deeply involved that it's the only thing you can see and you have tunnel vision and all you're doing is either prepping for the end of the world or whatever that is, are you actually living the deeper and deeper into these religious ties you get? And that's kind of the exploration. And what was interesting about both of these is not only did they explore religious thematics, but they also explored, is it better, like, is ignorance bliss, or is it better to have knowledge? Is it better to know everything, or is it better not to know everything?
Yeah. Sounds like two extremes, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then to the pie point too, there was something fascinating about pie is so innocent and sweet and evocative of kind of happy, good times. But if you look especially at strawberry and cherry pie, it's this red, bloody fruit. And you're digging in and it can look kind of messy and gory. And so the dichotomy there is something that we wanted to explore on so many facets. And that's kind of, I felt like pie represented. And then you have the aspect of a slice of pie. It's part of a whole, but they all seem separate pieces.
Yes.
So it's multiple avenues of thought there, yeah.
Great, okay. So 3 and 7 are tragic characters, almost childlike in their hope for annihilation. So what was your approach to writing them as both victims and believers?
I think that, having grown up around deeply religious people, I think that religion or belief it's a double-edged sword, right? It's something that is so beautiful, and I think that having belief or faith in something beyond yourself is such an incredible thing. But I also think that people become very hypocritical or be very ingrained into something that they can't really think for themselves out of. And it's easy to see when you look at religion that way, how people get involved in cults. It's like you just want to believe something bigger than yourself, and you watch this confident person that says, I have the answer. And it's understandable. It's sort of, it speaks to the child inside of you that wants someone to tell you what the answers are.
Yeah. So did that come from both experiences? Did you both have experiences with growing up in religious households?
I had very religious grandparents. I grew up around a lot of different religions, and so it was interesting to see the crossover between religion and also just the differences in how everyone thinks they have the answer, and the answers oftentimes are across all religions, so it doesn't really make sense why everyone goes, well, I have the answer, because it's pretty similar to the other religion.
Yes.
For me, I grew up in LA, and so I feel like LA it's just going that one step further than, and it can be anything. I mean, partying can be your religion, you know, and you see people just go, I really am a firm believer in moderation and self-integrity and kind of knowing what's true for you. But yeah, growing up, I was surrounded by people who would just go that one step too far, where they started losing their own volition. And I think as we get older, it is our responsibility to think for ourselves. And I think it's easier to almost depend on someone else. And so, yeah, you start to see people who kind of lose themselves to, well, what does this person say? You know, and there's so many beautiful facets of religion. I think it's amazing, but I also think that one step too far, it's a fine line, I think, just like anything in life.
Yeah, and I feel like that can apply to so many different things, not just religion. Like you said, there's a lot of different
It can be
religions.
anything.
Like partying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like there's not just one audience.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of films or, you know, TV shows, if it's, you know, centered on one specific religion, it might not be as accessible to people. But this sounds like it is pretty accessible.
Yeah, it's more the overarching thought of kind of, I mean, even addiction is kind of, to me, in some ways, you're giving something power over yourself. It's just that it's choosing to give power to something outside of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the short opens with a cult suicide and ends with apocalyptic violence, but the real tension lives in these quiet in-between moments. So how did you approach building dread in such a grounded and human way?
Music was so important for us. It was so from the get-go, before we even shot it, the one thing we knew is both of us have this love of opposing music to theme to what's going on in the scene. So when something feels more tense, we want to put almost like an eerie, happier song. When something's more relaxed, we can put some sadder or more intense moments with music. We had an amazing composer, Travis Warner, who was fantastic, and he really, a lot of the music in the film is us and Travis singing or doing little sound effects. So yeah, and he was so receptive to that, but it really was important for us to build that feeling without hitting it. I can't stand when movies hit the scary moment's happening now, bang, you know. I don't like that personally. I like this almost, I think Alfred Hitchcock says, you know, if you have a bomb under a seat in a stadium, and everyone knows about it, then it's not as interesting as no one knows about it. They're all cheering for the game, but you as the audience know that there's a bomb ticking. And for us, we tried to capture that as much as we could. It was very inspired by that feeling.
Great.
Yeah, honestly, I would say the music, also our incredible actors. Like we got so lucky. Siri is an amazing actress. All of our actors were so good because this script could so easily, some of these lines could come off cheesy if read in a different way. And that's the incredible thing about acting, right? Is some of it even doesn't even look like what I at least originally envisioned it to look like, but it's so much better.
Great. Yeah, I feel like in a lot of movies, right, there's like the music is telling you what to feel, and that also bugs me, I will say.
Same.
Yeah. Yes. So Cherry's storyline is part revenge, part reckoning. What did you want the audience to understand or feel about her connection to the cult and the preacher before she pulls the trigger?
I think Cherry is completely controlled by her revenge. Cherry's story in Slice is really a smaller slice of what I had the whole script written, and it is really about a girl who is so stuck in her past. She's basically seeking revenge on the men who murdered her mother. It was originally, and still is in Slice, but it's not so on the nose, but she's going after her dad because it's through his recklessness and wasting away of money that he owed people that her mom gets shot. And so for me, it was really important to have this happen to her when she was 9 years old, and now she's late 20s, early 30s, and she is still intent on this thing, and it controls her. It becomes, and she uses in the original script, I had she quotes Bible quotes to justify her reason for killing. And on one hand, as an audience, you can be like, I completely understand. Like, she has gone through the utmost trauma, and so she is trying to find some resolve, some resolution. But on the other hand, she has no other life. It is just that myopic kind of, this is the only purpose for me being here. So she's almost lost herself as a soul. And for me, I really wanted to dive into that of this thing that controls her, and the trauma that causes that, and sometimes we're unaware of when we're on a track and we can't hop off and we just don't see anything else.
Okay. Wow. So the ending is intense but ambiguous. Was that bright light divine, apocalyptic, imagined, and how much did you want to leave open to interpretation?
I think it's all up to interpretation, right? It could be anything. It could be aliens. It could be an atomic bomb. It could be divine light. I think ultimately the only thing we really wanted to get across was that in the end, these cult members were right, but they were right while for however many years living their lives just preparing for this inevitable end instead of living. And it's sort of like Cherry, right? It's preparing for this thing, and that's all you can see. You have tunnel vision. And so I think it's definitely up for interpretation what it is.
I think also when that light comes in the eyes, and this was very difficult for us to do, but in the eyes we have the moment where each of them experiences their trauma from the past. And it is kind of that day of reckoning where you have this light come on and suddenly all the characters are there, almost having a flash to all their choices in life. And for us, we wanted to kind of that is what's driving these characters. But yeah, definitely open to interpretation. I like not telling the audience.
Okay.
I also like being that audience member that's like, but what did that mean? I need to know. And having to sit with it and figure it out myself. So yeah.
Great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so
I
much.
wish you the best.
Thank you. These were great questions too. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so
much.